Hello. Oh, so exciting. Day 7. We're diving into quantum linguistics. Who's excited? Woo-hoo. Give me a hell yeah. Give me a hell yeah if you're excited about this one. Or you might be feeling like, what is this? How are you feeling about what we're diving into tonight? Drop it in the comments. I actually did my hair and put a little bit of makeup on tonight. How about that? Who is this woman? Oh, goodness. So, it's been a big day. It's been a big day. And we're diving into something really big. And ultimately, my hope for you, for this, is to open up your mind, to free your mind, maybe, just a little bit. You know, all of this is really about, you know, shifting perspective and being able to understand things, not only what's going on, but why and how it's going on. Because we hear all of this stuff and we don't necessarily know the details about it and how it really works. So hopefully I can uncover some of that for you today. And if it feels a little bit too much, like if it feels like it's way over your head, then that's okay. We're all here at a different level and we're all evolved at a different level, and our complexity of thinking is at a different level. Hey, Kylie. And so, you know, what I'm speaking about tonight, normally I only teach. I have never taught this outside of here. I'm a little bit like, holy shit, not sure how this is going to land. So I'm a little bit feeling it, you know, feeling a little bit nervous about it. And I really want to be able to deliver this in a way that's really simple and easy for you to get, because it's a very complex conversation. It's a complex discussion. It's a complex thought pattern, way of thinking. So I have my notes here just to keep me on track. And as I said, I normally teach this only in my Master Prac trainings, which is the second level of my NLP trainings. And it does require a certain level of comprehension and a certain level of thinking to be able to take on this level of complexity. So if this blows your mind, perfect, it most likely will. If this feels like it's too much information or you can't take it in or consume it, that's probably going to be normal for a lot of you, unless you're trained in the practitioner level of NLP. And then even if you are, it's still going to blow your mind and it's still going to be like, what is she talking about? Amazing. Oh, thank you, Kyles. Yay, Donna. Don't bite your nails, beautiful. Hey, Kimmy. Hey, Megan. All my queens are here. So here's the thing, like quantum linguistics, it sounds a little bit fancy and it can sound a little bit intimidating as well. But ultimately, all quantum linguistics is it's referring to the multi-dimensional aspect of how we think, and within the thought processes of how we think, how that is then represented in the outside world through our language. Because language is the way that we communicate, right? Language is the way that we receive a lot of information. And so, queens are in the castle. Oh, I like it. And so, that's really all it is. And many of us are in the realm of living in the realm of needing evidence that we will only believe in the thing that we see. And a lot of this conversation is actually going to blow that out, because there's a lot of things that we cannot see that are there. And when we live in the three-dimensional world, three-dimensional, which is the realm that we live in as a human being, it's limited. And so there are many more dimensions to this life, this world, this planet that we live on. And so when we can open up to that, then that opens up more possibilities. So that's exciting, don't you think? So exciting. Woo! I love opportunities. I love limited possibilities. This is what I'm going to stand for you. Beautiful. So Noam Chomsky, who is a legend, godfather of linguistics, modern linguistics, He said that there's, I don't know if I'm reversed. I think I'm probably reversed. So this is normally, if I'm a mirror image to you, I'll do it this way. So there's those over here that are on the left side. And there are those that are not here. They're somewhere. Who knows where? Maybe that's a good place to be. I don't know. Not really. And then there are those of us that are over here on the right side. And these people are here to really help to define how far you can think from the left side to the right side of your thinking. And so if you think of that in the sense of, if we have a spectrum, okay, we have a spectrum of thought, we have a spectrum of words, of language, of different things. There's spectrums of like polarities of this thing, and then the opposite end being this thing. And so a lot of times in certain circumstances and situations like politics, let's say, or in anything to do with media, quite often there is usually what appears to be two opposite sides, right? Someone on the left, someone on the right, and they're opposing. And so as we look at these two opposing things, we think, and quite often this is what it is wanted for us to believe, that there is only this and there's only that. It's either this or it's this. And so this creates what we call a dichotomy, and the dichotomy is that there has to be one thing, and it's either this one or this one. It can't be something else. But what if it could be something else? And so I think what's really important in this conversation today is that I want to really get you to consider, in terms of how you think, is how far can you go from the left side to the right side of your thinking and everything in between. Well, that's where we get to explore, right? And so hopefully I'm going to open up that left and the right side for you today as we dive into what we're kind of diving into. And so the other thing within this, within there being a dichotomy of there's only this or this, is it gives us the false idea that we have freedom of choice. But actually we don't, because we have to choose one or the other. We don't have to. But that is the forced choice that is quite often put upon us. And so if you can move your mind so that it can be not only in the left and the right, but maybe back here or somewhere in between, that potentially there is a third option, or even a fourth or a fifth or a sixth or a seventh. There's many, many options depending on which position you want to be positioned from. If you want to be positioned on this side, on the left side, then you will see what's over here on the left side. If you want to be positioned here on the right, you will see what is here on the right. And if you want to be positioned here, you'll see what's here in the third position. I recently did an activation. It's one of the techniques actually that I teach in NLP trainings, is called perceptual positions. And I recently did a beautiful activation for the queens in my Illuminate Inner Circle around releasing conflict in relationships. And the exercise is basically having position, like let's say a conflict between person A and person B, and these people in conflict. And then there's being a third position, and the third position is a neutral party and someone who can see the perspectives of both party A and party B. And so they have to actually move positions, be as who they are, and then move positions and come and look from the perspective of person B, right? So we're looking from the perspective of this left side, which may be us, and then we go over here and we look from the perspective of this side, which is person B, or the right side. And then we actually go here and we go and we look from a third perspective, and we look at the scenario and we gain a fresh perspective. It's really, really powerful. And this is kind of like what I'm teaching, what I'm speaking into tonight, is the ability to be able to not get stuck in the dichotomy of forced choice and thinking that we only have this option or this option. I mean, how many of you have felt that you're stuck in your life and you felt like, I can't get out, I'm stuck, there's no options? Have any of you felt like that at any point in your life? Have you felt that? If you have, then it's because you were stuck in your position and you were stuck in maybe the left side of your thinking or maybe the right side, whichever side it was. You were stuck in this side of the thinking and you were unable to stretch your mind and free your mind to think about what are the other options here? What are the other things that this could be happening for? What are the other things that this is here for as an opportunity? We get so stuck in our position and our level of thinking around the problem that we're experiencing, and we're so unable to see any of the other things that are quite possible within that. Or maybe you find yourself saying, oh, I need to do this or this, or, you know, and you get so stuck in this or this. What if it was and this and this and this and this and that? Many alternatives, many options. And I even find myself with Brooklyn sometimes saying to her, you can have this one or this one. Which one do you want? And she'll like, I'll have both. I love it. And I'm like, yeah, you can. Who am I to say that you can only have this one or this one? And so she could also have many others, right? But we're so conditioned to teach into, because of our conditioning too, that it's this one or this one. Can't have both. Can't have all of it. In many, many circumstances and in many, many, many contexts of life. Hi, Gemma. Yes, Kyle's. Hey. Love it, Nissa. Thanks for being here, beautiful. So, if you can only think in the black or white, if you can only think in the A or B, if you can only think in the left and the right, then your mind is very narrow. You only have a very limited, narrow level of thinking, right? How's that working for you? I'm very intrigued. How's that working for you? So when our mind is narrowed, we get put down into this tiny little box, and we know what happens when we're inside a box. We create limitations inside of that box because it's only this or this, or it's only that or that, or it's only this, or, you know, there's no options, right? And so, you know, your mind is actually not narrow. Your mind is actually not a tiny little box. Your mind is expansive. Your mind is phenomenal. Your mind is so incredible. You are incredible. You're so capable, and you have so many possibilities and opportunities within you if you can just expand and open up. And so your mind actually does not like to live in a box, and it doesn't like to stay in the box. And so whenever you have a situation where you're listening and you hear that there's only this or this, it's just like, this is why I love neurolinguistic programming and why I think everyone needs to learn this and train this. Come and join me in my training, and I'll talk a little bit about it at the end, but not as a hard sell, but as an invitation, because I truly believe that every single one of us, every single one of you needs to train in this for yourself, for your family, for your relationships, for your business, for every single aspect of your life, because this is opening your mind. It's getting you to see fresh, new perspectives. It's getting you to train your brain, train your mind, to expand your mind, to expand what is possible in this realm, in this lifetime. There is so much possibilities, so many possibilities. And so many of us live inside this box, and it's because we're not educated and we're not trained in the way that we think and in our mindset to be able to notice, look for, open ourselves up for, free ourselves up for many, many, many more opportunities. And I feel like with what's going on in the world right now, why I'm so driven to teach this and train this, not only because when I'm teaching and training and doing this, like what I'm doing right now, I'm just in flow. I'm in my zone. I love it so, so much. Even though I was like shitting myself before this, when I'm here now in this moment and I'm with you and I'm so relaxed and I'm so in flow and I'm trusting that what needs to come through will come through. And when I get caught up in my ego in my head of, do I know this? Am I smart enough? Am I good enough? Am I this? Am I this? Will they get it? Da, 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 all of that. Then I know that I'm just not connected to myself and I'm not living here in this moment. I've like shared this many, many times. I know this stuff. But I always want to deliver. I want to deliver at a really excellent level, and I expect that from myself, for you, so that you can get what you want to get and need to get from this, so that you can free yourself. And so I feel like everyone needs to learn this. Everyone needs to be trained in this, because it is so empowering, so empowering. And right now, in this moment, in this current reality that we are experiencing, which isn't real, but it is, but it's not. Who knows? I'm going to blow some of that shit up tonight. Is to have the ability to think differently and to look outside of what we're being sent. So I just want you to remember that there's always more than two choices, right? There's always more than two choices. Brooklyn knows. She can have both. She can have all the things. And you knew too when you were a kid, as did I. Why do I have to choose between one or the other? That just sounds dumb. Let's just give it all to me. And so quite often this forced choice, right? This forced choice has been forced upon us. No, you have to have one or the other. You can't have both. Whereas I'm like, yeah, you can have both. You can. Today, let's just choose one. So, cool. So far, so good. That part's pretty easy. But also within that, like also within the dichotomy, right, of why we have a forced choice, is because there's lots of other stuff in the middle. And there's lots of things, actually, that the people up there, out there, somewhere, powers, you know, the greater powers, there's lots of things that they don't actually want us to know, or that we ought not to know, because they want us to either think this or this. They don't want us to think, they don't want us to think that anything else is going on. I mean, think about what's currently going on in the world right now. We're caught up in this monkey show of being so stuck in the, not that I'm making it wrong or anything like that, but it is very distracting, this COVID thing, right? It's very distracting. We're so caught up in it. And so our focus is on that. But what else is over here that we can't see, or that we haven't been able to see? You know, there's been a lot of conspiracy theories and things like that, and that has brought up the information of that, yes, there possibly is some other things going on. And this is just this situation, but it's like in many, many, many circumstances and situations where this is occurring, where they want you to think that this is the issue. You know, we had the black and white turmoil that was going on as well. So that was like another thing that caught our attention away and created more division and more conflict, and all for what? You know, what's really going on behind all of that is outside of that we're not seeing. So in terms of the things that we ought not to see, you know, I won't talk so much about that today, but definitely in my trainings I go deeper into this, and you know, speak a lot about the way the media and the way, you know, just our programming is through movies and all kinds of social media and all of that, and kind of deeper into the dichotomies of reporting, and that, if, you know, what I was just speaking about right now, that there's either this or this, and we're always faced with, quite often we're faced with these two options, where we're also being limited in terms of what we can think. And so what I really want you to take away from this right now is to go, what else am I not allowed to think because I'm given these two options? So that's a really good question to kind of like inquire into. But it does take a little bit of time and energy and effort to actually want to look at that and to want to do the research, you know? I'm so glad you're loving this, Kimmy. Thank you. because it does take energy and it is consuming, and it's not necessarily easy. You know, it's not necessarily an easy thing to see and witness. Sometimes having that information then can be very overwhelming, and then we think, oh my God, what can I do? I feel like I don't need to shout out all of the stuff that I know, because I know a lot of stuff, right? And I feel as though me just shouting it out across social media or across whoever, wherever, is not actually going to do anything. I feel that I'm actually serving the planet more by the work that I do in my coaching, with my one-on-one and my groups and in my trainings. And it starts with us just going, what can I do? How can I show up differently? How can I influence others? And my take on all of this is, and of course, why I'm so passionate about educating and teaching people about NLP is to be able to take back their power and start to think differently about what's possible within themselves, and about, you know, what's happening. Me versus the powers, you know, I'm never going to win. And but if I can, behind the scenes, make a little impact, that to me feels like I'm contributing and I'm playing my part and playing my role in this. Me being like loud and boisterous and expressing my opinion, I feel is not actually going to do anything. It's just going to create turmoil within me potentially and others, and it's not necessarily going to achieve anything. So I think each of us needs to be able to choose what is it that we're going to take responsibility on for ourselves. And if we're taking responsibility and starting to think differently and to question things and to come from a different way of thinking, the ripple effect of that is really huge. So yeah, new thinking, new life, definitely. So how you think and how you understand all of this is really key. You know, I think understanding this, how you're thinking about this, is really, really important in your personal development, in your personal evolution. So what we're going to experience now is a little bit of a conversation around how the mind works, and not only that, but that it is not always the case that what we can see is only what's there. Okay, so we actually see a very, 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 like through the physical eye, we actually see a very, very, very small portion of reality. Interesting, right? And so we say, oh, but it's not there. Oh, but I cannot see it. Oh, but it's not in front of me. Oh, and because we're so evidence-based in this three-dimensional world, when we don't see the evidence, we go, but it's not there, I can't see it, it's not true. Can you see gravity? Can you see gravity? You can't, can you? How do you know it's there? How do you know it's there? That just came to me right then. That's an interesting question. How do you know it's there? Probably because we were told that gravity keeps us, you know, head up, feet down, and our feet on the ground, right? we were told that, and we bought into that belief, but we haven't seen it. We cannot see gravity. Can we? Can you see it? Maybe. So it's interesting to think about, isn't it? I love it. I love it. I love it. Love it. Love it. Are you all still with me? Not hearing anything? Okay. So firstly, let's talk about light as a photon. And so have you guys ever seen the experiment, the double slit experiment? And basically there was a divider with a split, and then another with two splits, and they shined a light behind the slits, and to experience a response. And so back in the 20th century, the scientists thought that they knew everything to do with the universe, and but in the beginning of the the last century, with this research, it started to create a little bit of a problem. And so with the research on, is light a photon or a wave, or is it a particle? And so this was what they were questioning. Is it a particle or is it a wave? And so when they did the experiment, they were expecting a certain result. They were expecting something which didn't occur. And so as they shone the light through and the projection came through, the projected results came out onto the screen. Rather than getting 2 bars of light, which is what they were expecting to see, they got a pattern of dark and light bands along, so it was like black, white, across the back wall. And so they were scratching their head and they thought, well, how is this possible? And then they thought, well, it's kind of like, when you throw a pebble into water and there's that ripple effect and it creates those waves and ripples out, and then it ripples out and then it hits the shore, right? So it hits the shore, the waves hit the shore, and then they come back and they kind of cancel themselves out. And so the dark was kind of where the waves were cancelling out, and the light was where they were enhancing each other. This was the assumption that they made. And so, okay, that's cool, if that's what it was. And so, but then the question is, so what is the light? Is the light a wave or is it a particle? And so what they said was, well, the light was a wave because it operated based on a wave interference, based on the theory that I just shared with you. And so, however, what happened next was they replaced the screen with a photographic plate, and then they magnified the results. And when that happened, the result of the interference pattern, that is where you can see the individual particles of the light, the photons, like the smallest particle of the light where they hit the plate, were different. And so they were like, hang on a second, but we thought that it was a wave. A moment ago, the way that we saw it, it was like waves, and now adding in the photographic plate, it actually spread the light out over the back wall. And so they were like, but hang on a second, a moment ago when we tested it showed that the light acted as a wave. But now we see that they're actually acting as individual particles. So the question is the light a wave or is it a particle? So now we actually have it operating as both. We have it acting as both, a wave and a particle, right? So this experiment, what it really did was to show that the light operated based on what it was being tested for. What they were assuming or thinking it was going to, so it behaved based on what they're expecting it to behave as. And so not only that, but the act of actually observing the changes, like the act of observing it caused the changes to actually occur. So weird. It's better if you can actually see the visual of it and actually see if you haven't seen it, it's on YouTube, you can Google it. And so what they discovered was, if you create an experiment to measure light as a particle, it will behave as a particle. So the act of actually observing the changes, the thing that it observed to be. So there's actually, with that, there is no such thing as an objective observer, which also ties into the concept that I taught earlier in this week of perception is projection, which is when we talk about there cannot be an objective observer. I cannot be observing you and be objective in my observation of you because I'm looking at you from my lens, from my model of the world. And so it's the same phenomena. You cannot see anything that is not you. You cannot see, you'll only see what it is that you are asking to see. And I say to my beautiful queens all the time, when you have an idea of someone, when you have an idea of something or the way something will go, let's say you're going to have your family over for the weekend, and you know that it's always stressful, or you have confronting conversations, or that there'll be drama or whatever, and so the reality is your reality, which is not actually real, but the reality is for you that the experience is going to be like that. And so because you're seeing that and that's already in your future timeline, that is what you're going to create. That's what you're going to see, because it's already what you're actively calling in, basically, right? And so the act of actually observing something even before you observe something, right? There's actually no way to determine what state that it is in until we actually observe it. So if you think about, like, if I was not facing you, which I am right now, but I can't see you. But let's say I was standing this way and, you know, you came up behind me. I could sense that you were there, but you may be there, you may not be there. But let's say that you were there, and then, but at the moment, the very moment that you become real is when I actually turn around and look at you. And by the act of actually observing you is how this creates my reality in front of me, because I'm observing you, and it is my observation of you. So with all of that, like, reality is actually not what we think it is. And so when we listen to the media, when we listen to the PR, you know, the PR agencies and the politics, they want to have us believe certain things, because this is what creates the reality for us. By the way that they use their language and they communicate with us and they give us this or this, and the dichotomy, the forced choice, that they only want us to think this or this, and within that, through the powers of actually our creation, by what we're focused on and what we're choosing to think about and choose in the moment, creates the reality. Is this landing? Is this making any sense? Or is this like, whew? So within this, what we can also assume in the quantum physics realm, and what is communicated then in the quantum physics point of view, is that we can also say that time does not exist. Okay? And so I've also spoken to you about the Nlp Model of Communication, and how yes, Donna, lots of tricks, how the 11 million bits of information are coming at us every single second. We cannot take in all of that information. We can't consume it all. It's too much. It's overload, overwhelm, too much. And so we can only reduce it down into 126 bits. And so we also said that you cannot create anything that is actually outside of you, right? And so, you know, one of the cool, you know, like, stories, I guess, is like a kid story is Frozen, right? You know the Frozen story, the Frozen movie. How is it Anna? Is it Anna? Can't think of her name. The one that could turn everything to ice. That she, you know, everything that she touched transformed into ice. And so because of that, she actually couldn't enjoy her life. She had to hide herself away, and she had to put herself away out of protection for everyone and everything else, because of her ability to touch everything and turn it into ice. And therefore, she wasn't able to enjoy life. And that kind of ties in a little bit to what I was mentioning before about this idea of that whatever our idea is of something being real and something being there. Like, if I said to you, well, like, is that chair that you're sitting on, is it real? Well, it's real because in your mind, you're seeing it as a chair. Is it a table? No, it's not a table, because you know it to be a chair. What's making it a chair? Is it because of the observation that you have of seeing it as a chair and knowing it to be a chair that actually makes it real to make it be a chair? I'm blowing my own mind. So in this like presupposition, this assumption of this, that it also is based on the assumption that everything around us is actually a hologram. Have you ever seen a hologram? I mean, you see those like cut out, you know, hologram images and things like that in the glass. But have you ever seen a person that is not really there and it's a holographic image of them? Tony Robbins does it. I mean, Prince Charles has done it. Like when Prince Charles did it and he appeared at this particular event, nobody knew that it wasn't actually him. It was a holographic image of him. It wasn't actually him. And so by the act of actually observing creates the reality based on our observation, right? And so if that is true, then nothing is real. Nothing is real. Elsa, cool. Thank you, Donna. And so, you know, right now I'm speaking to you, but am I really speaking to you? Are you really there? I'm assuming that you are, right? I can see like 5 eyes, an eye, and then 6 people on there now. But so, you know, if I was on a phone call and I'm having a conversation with someone, then let's say I'm doing sales and I'm on a phone call, like I have to get in the headspace that there is actually no one on the other end of the call, in the sense of that all I need to concern myself with is my energy, my emotions, my state of being, because my state of being is going to impact the other person. Yeah? My emotions, how I sound on the phone, how I say the first words that I say is going to impact the feeling and the response that the other person has. So we have to have our head right. The emotions need to be right. We need to be grounded. We need to be like in our power to do that. And so again, this is like typically tying into that whole concept of perception is projection. It's taking it to a whole nother level. So until we actually observe something from the quantum perspective, then we cannot even prove that it exists. Right? We can't prove that it exists. So think of it in the sense of the psychological aspect. Think of it in this, like, I remember, I mean, this happens all the time. Let's say you have an injury. Let's say you have something wrong with you, an ailment, a sickness, whatever. And you are really concerned about it because you're not well. And until you know what that thing is, you're kind of in this, don't know what it is. It might bother you because you don't know what it is, or you might be okay with it. But then you go to the doctor does some tests, and then you are given a label of you have this thing. We did these tests and you have this. It happens so much in the psychological therapy as well. And so let's say it's whatever, an ailment, whatever, that you again then given this thing and you're given a label. And in being given the label, now you have an identity of it. Now you have a reality of that thing, whereas before you didn't, because it was just given a name. It's crazy, right? But is that real? Is that really real? Just because someone said that you have this thing, is that really real? Interesting to consider, right? So before you actually observe something and label it, all you have is an experience. All you have is what it is. What's going on for you right now. And the moment that you see it, and the moment, I've got a little fly getting around, the moment that you label it is the moment that it actually becomes real for you. But is it really real? And so that's actually how we create our real problems. Oh my God, I have anxiety. I'm an anxious person. I have depression. And we become attached, and the label of that thing, I have PTSD, I have blah, 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 whatever you want to give it, whatever name or whatever label you want to give it. And so in the moment of actually taking it on, because you can reject it or you can take it on. You could reject it and say, how the hell do they fucking know? You could say no, or you could accept it. And so the moment you say, I have this problem, you're actually making it real for you. We observe it, we give it some substance, and then make it real. So tying back in with the frozen thing, you know, she wasn't actually able to interact or influence anyone without actually impacting them, right? She would touch something and it would turn into ice. And so anything that she interacted with would cause a certain result and effect, okay? And so if that's correct and your reality is actually in every single moment, then it's a projection of you, and it's a holographic projection of you. Ooh. So juicy. And so, And so with the holographic projections, let's talk a little bit about a hologram, right? So with the hologram, ultimately you see like a three-dimensional picture that's kind of like suspended in mid-air. It's not really there. It's not real. It becomes cut up and spliced up, and there's certain aspects of it that make it look real. But if we were to kind of splice it up and cut it up even more and more and more, it starts to lose some of the detail. Hey, gorgeous girl. And so, what happens with memory in your body, memory is actually stored in your body in the same way. It's stored holographically. So not only is it stored up here in the brain, in the mind, it's actually stored in every single cell of the body, because it's stored like holographically. And so there are also certain organs within your body that have better memory retention, the heart in particular. If you want to learn more about it, a really amazing book is called The Heart's Code by Paul Purcell, and he dives like really deep into that and some really mind-blowing stories around, you know, one girl in particular who got her heart from another girl who was killed, and based on the memories from her heart, she was able to actually recover and help the police gain evidence for that girl's killer. It's crazy. The liver also contains lots of memories. So, you know, we have donors and things that happens, and so the liver has lots of memories inside of there. And so this piece is real. Like the body actually really retains the memories, and each cell within our body retains memories. And that's why it's actually so important to be in charge of your thinking, because everything that you think impacts to every single cell in your body. And I mentioned this the other day with the mind-body connection. And so our bodies right now, like my body, is a direct reflection of what's been going on in my mind over the last 5 years. It's been very stressful. It's been very, a lot of rejection to myself, to my health, just disconnection from myself. I'm, you know, on the right track, but sometimes it's a slow response. So now I am much more aware and I'm taking responsibility for that. But it's many years of actually living in a very, very high stressful situation and circumstance. And so my body has changed a lot, and it is a direct reflection of how my body or how my mind was operating. And I was living in a lot of anxiety and a lot of fear of the unknown and a lot of scarcity and just going week to week and trying to get by and all of that. And so, so the body responds. And of course we have, you know, the hormones and all the different things that goes on because of the high stress that can be impacted in our life. And it can be over a long, prolonged period of time. And so the body is a representation of the quality of our thinking and the quality of our emotions and the quality of how we're operating. It's a direct reflection of that. Hey girls, as you're jumping on, hello. So, oh, thank you, Katie girl. Love creating it with you too, beautiful. My soul sister. So, because your consciousness actually creates your reality. Your consciousness creates your reality, including the physical body. Like that's a lot to take ownership of, right? And it's so important that we train and that we allow our conscious mind and our unconscious mind to actually integrate, which is the process of learning NLP. It's all about integrating those two parts of us. When we can get those two parts integrating, work together beautifully, harmoniously, without conflict, without going against each other, it's about getting them working together. And even though we know this shit, even though, you know, when I trained in all this, I was like, I know all this shit, you know. Well, what's the point of knowing it when we don't embody it? It's easy to know stuff. It's not as easy to actually embody it and do it and live it and breathe it every single day from moment to moment to moment to moment. And I had to experience the not doing that to now come home to doing that. And I'm not perfect. I'm still not perfect. I'm still on the journey. We all are. But it's, yeah, like really owning that. And that can feel really confronting. And I'm sorry if you don't like that. Sometimes I don't like it either. Let's be real. I love you forever too, gorgeous. Yeah, give me a call tomorrow. So how's this landing for you guys? What are you taking away for yourself? Hello, Nathan Hawken. But the good part of it, the really good part of it is it's your responsibility. You get to take responsibility for your life. Oh my God. That's so cool when we actually do that. When we actually give up being the victim, we actually give up not taking responsibility, and we reclaim our power, you know? So it actually gives you incredible power to know that you can influence and you can change your reality, your experience, your world. You can change things. You're not stuck the way that you are. That's nice to know, right? So if you've created some physiological kind of manifestations known as dis-ease, dissociate to create ease, that means that you can also uncreate them. That's how powerful you are. Like when I work with clients with pain, chronic pain, they are like in pain when I start with them. Maybe the pain is at an 8 or a 9, and they can turn it down. Right while we're on the call together, they can turn it down to a 0.5, nearly 0, and they're almost at 0, and they can turn it straight back up to an 8 while I'm on the call with them. They can create it and they can uncreate it. Pretty powerful, right? I'm like blown away by how powerful we are as human beings, what we can create and what we can also uncreate if it is something that we don't want. So that puts you in charge. That puts you in the driver's seat, driving the bus. You want to drive the bus? I want to drive the bus. I don't want to be in the back seat going right when the bus driver goes right. I want to be driving the bus of my own life. I want to be the one in charge, taking the right turn when I want to go right and turning left when I want to go left. And so that also gives you massive amounts of responsibility, and honestly, not everyone wants to take that. Not everyone wants to own that responsibility because that requires some effort. That requires not the easy way. And most people want to say, I caught the flu. I got the sickness from somebody else. Because that's easy. That's not taking responsibility. So, or my environment caused my trauma because of someone I experienced this. Yeah. And all of that can, matter, and I'm not making any of that wrong or whatever. However, we cannot expect to eat shit and put junk into our bodies and expect our body to respond the way that we want it to. We cannot expect to not work out and our body to stay fat and lean and athletic and strong, right? And so However, there are also people that do eat shit and their bodies are healthy. So again, it's not an either or. It's not it's, you know, you can only do this or that. Is there? What's important, especially when it comes to our body, is that we give our body lots and lots of water, and that we give it what it needs. We give it the nutrients that it needs, real food, and we nurture it and we take care of it and we build it up to actually be really strong and our immune system really rock solid, to ensure that it is back to that perfect blueprint of health, and at the same time that your mind creates that state of health for your body as well, and so that they're working harmoniously together to support what it is that you're trying to create. And I'm talking about this in the regards to health, because right, that's what's going on for me right now, but it's also any aspect of life, any area of life. And so what is really incredible about this is it gives us a huge ability to actually intervene in this. And so if everything that you've actually experienced, every experience that you've had, every memory you've had is actually a holographic projection of your mind, then the question is, how is that holographic hologram created, and how can we change it? Oh, no worries, Nath. Yeah, stay safe. So, is that what you want to know? Well, let's think about it like this. So, how can you change something out in the future? So, well, how do we change it? We change it in the now. We change it in this now moment, right now. If we want to change something, if you have a mind that thinks about what it is that you don't want, how do you change that to not create what you don't want? Is to change it in this moment, right here, right now. Now, goddammit. We live in the realm of now, not in the realm of meeting, although most of us live in the realm of meeting. And so the now is the moment that we're experiencing right now, which is changing every single moment, right? And so the other question is, the holographic projection just our projection, or is it a projection from all of us collectively? That individually we project together, and this creates what we call today and our day. And right now, in this moment together, collectively, we're creating this moment right now. Pretty cool, hey? And so if I was to ask you, as you're sitting there in the chair right now, and as I sit here, that about your past, you know, there's actually no absolute past there, and this might challenge you a little bit, but there is actually an infinite number of pasts that you could have. I might use a piece of paper for this. So let's say that this is probably going to be back-assed around because of Facebook. But let's say we have now. Oh, you might be able to... No. Can you see that? Now. Okay. So anyway, it doesn't matter that it's reversed. You could have like hundreds and thousands of different pasts. Okay, past is going back that way. There could be many, many, many possibilities of your past. Look, see, I've just drawn, I don't know how many are there right now, but the same is also true for your future. So if we go out into the future, there could be many, 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 there can be many, many, many opportunities and different futures that you can create, right? See, look, so many. That's exciting, don't you reckon? You already have future memories in your timeline somewhere. You already have future decisions and future things that you've put into your future that are there. And there may be many different timelines within this, right? You know what you're doing tonight, right? You're on this with me. And after tonight, you already know what you're doing. So that's already in your future timeline. Yeah, do you know what you're doing tomorrow and next week? And maybe in a year from now? Maybe, maybe not. Maybe in 5 years from now, you have a goal. And so perhaps within that, you already have future memories. So I would like to propose that there are actually an infinite number of possibilities for your future, and also that could have been for your past. Making sense? Hey, Kirsty. Hey, Trudy. So some of this may make sense to you or not, but it's all good. So we can experience infinite possibilities in the future, plus in the same way, infinite possibilities with our past. So the question is then, what makes the difference? And between this one and that one. And all of these possibilities, what is the difference? The difference is now. Difference is now that we are here in this now, right now, in this moment, and that we get to create in this moment right now. And every single moment you have a choice to live in this moment and make a decision, make a choice that is going to move you closer towards creating the infinite number of possibilities that you want to create out in your future. But it all starts with now, in this moment, and now, and now, and now. Are you getting this? Is this landing for you? And when you can take this on and accept this and get this and know this and apply this in your life, that every single choice and every single thing that you want, even out in the future, that you're focused on being here now in this moment and making choices in this moment that are going to move you closer towards the thing that it is that you say that you want. So it all comes down to one thing. What does it come down to? One thing. It's the C word. One of the many C words that I love. What is it? Who's going to win? Who's going to win the prize? All right, I'm going to give it to you. I'm going to keep going. It probably is a little bit delayed, but I feel like I'm waiting like a long, long time. The C word is choice. Every single one of us have the ability to choose in this moment, and every single moment we get to choose. It is choice. It is the choice that you're making from moment to moment to moment to moment to moment, every single moment. Consciously and unconsciously, which is why I would love to see you in one of my NLP trainings, because this is the conscious and the unconscious, when they're working together, harmoniously integrated, fully integrated, that these choices are so much easier to make in alignment with what it is that you say that you want, that you're not working against yourself, fighting against yourself. Dumb, stop it. And so what happens with all of these future possibilities of your life, right? When you're actually focusing on being in the moment and you're living in the now and you're making choices based on in this moment, on the now, based on what it is that you want to create, that with all of these possibilities, it will all collapse into one timeline. Yeah? And it will collapse into a waveform into one future. Nice one, Joel. Love it. And so by doing that, we create the experience, right? So now, what is the only place that you can actually affect the future? Where can you affect your future? It is right here. Right here! Woo! You have the power. I have the power. Bum, 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 bum. I have the power. Okay, all right, cool. Enough about that. You know you have the power, right? And the future is in your hands. You get to choose it. So I'm going to go into speaking into the multi-dimensional realities. So I'm kind of just like fast tracking through. I wanted to cover off some other stuff, but I feel like I want to get more into this multi-dimensional stuff. So if you think about it like this, how do we actually create our reality? Well, let's imagine that I'm a dot. I'm a dot, a little dot. And I live in a place called Dotsville. And there's a large family of dots that live with me. And there's different colored dots, brown dots, yellow dots, green dots, orange dots, pink dots, purple dots, all different types of dots, but we're all dots. And so one day, you know, I go into town and I'm a dot, and I go into the town and there's all these dots there, and they're cool, and they're like, hey dot, hey, another dot. And everyone's friendly to each other, everyone loves each other, and you know, we're all friends. And you know, the one dot says, you know, I'm there and I see these dots conversing, and they say, you know, you're such a good person, like I know you and I really trust you, and yeah, like you're really good. But then all of a sudden, the one dot that is there, that they're having a conversation, the other dot, he actually lies down and he becomes really flat and he becomes a line, and he says, I have to tell you something, I'm actually not a dot, I'm a line. I'm a line. And then he stood back up, and the other dot said, wow, that's really tricky. What did you just do? How did you just do that? And they said, but everyone knows that, we all know that all we have here are dots. We don't have lines. We only have dots. There's no such thing as a line. What are you doing? And so they have this big debate, and they kind of like everyone, you know, everyone around us, me, I'm there, I'm a dot, says, you know, to the line, actually, you should leave. There's now a dot again, but he showed that he was a line. So, you know, everyone's like saying, well, you're a threat to us because we've never seen you like that. We don't know you as, like, we know you as a dot, and you just showed us something else. So you're a bit of a threat to us, and we don't know that for ourselves. And so, you know, we've lived here peacefully our whole lives, and so we've been calm and peaceful and our whole lives, like, so maybe you need to go. And so the whole theory here is based on that we live in this world of verifying our beliefs, right? And so could you conceive the fact that actually reality is not only what we think it is, it's not only what we perceive, it's not only what we think that we know. A dotted line, yeah, Joel, love it. What about a dotted line? Oh my God, that just totally changes things up again. Oh my God, a dotted line. It's also different. A line of dots. But we've never done that. We don't know that either. So before we were speaking about, you know, the holographic nature of us and human beings and our experience and how we create it with our consciousness, which is, you know, obviously our consciousness is our awareness of ourselves and the conditions that we live in and that are around us. And so how is it possible? Like, how is it that you know how to create a perfect reality for yourself? How do you know how to do that? You know, like when no one actually really knows what reality is. Do we all really know what's going on in the world right now? Do we really know the reality of what is going on? Because the mainstream media paints something that is actually not the reality. You watch TV, you buy into it. You buy into the fear, you buy into the scarcity, you buy into the story. And now that creates a false reality, which is different and separates us from the real reality of the world. It's crazy. So it's again like becomes this construction, a construction of a real versus a fake reality. And the thing is, it seems to be growing and growing and growing even more right now as we allow our minds to be actually caught up in it, totally caught up in it. Such a classic example right now. And if you think about it in terms of human beings, right, we look at it, if there's such a thing as a common reality, which we live in, and we live in this world which has approximately 7.8 billion people, therefore we have 7.8 billion projections. All of the people on this planet, right? And so with all of these people on the planet, we can actually make a parallel with all of the collective unconsciousness or unconscious thoughts that are going on, which this kind of concept comes from Carl Jung, and I've mentioned it before as well. It's the same thing, but I'm using different language right now. So let's say that this common reality which we live in and we partake in and we operate in and we go through our lives, you know, from day to day. And remember, I said there's 7.8 billion projections, future timelines. So if all of us have how many unlimited, infinite number of future timelines, and every single one of us also has, then these timelines can also intertwine with each other and become entangled, intertwined, combining together now, so that they're all like, and each of us has our own personal bay, right? But we have these common projections that we have and that each individual one has, which ends up kind of like, we access this big, big reality. And all of these are holographic projections that we've created. And then there become zones. Like there's a concept created by Rupert Sheldrake, and he talks about zones and how these holographic projections that are coming from all of us human beings around the world, that people then gather together on these frequencies. Think about the groups that you're in, that people might say you're in a cult. Well, it's because that these zones, the way that we think, we end up attracting those kinds of people because of the frequencies, because of the same thought patterns, because of, you know, like let's say people who are into NLP, people who are like NLP will be attracted to other people who train it. People who do online business in a certain business will be attracted to each other. And then there creates, it's kind of like this creation of these zones in which the individual, each of us, people are in direct alignment with somebody else. It could be business, could be finance, could be any different context of life, right? And so 100%, Joel, is exactly what I'm talking about, you know? Is it real? Are we living in a matrix and a simulation? Right? I mentioned this the other day. And so what this is called the morphic genetic field. And so we get together, we come together, we feel at home together because we feel this alignment, we feel this sameness. But then we also, can stay together in this environment of this morphic genetic field of exchanging ideas and supporting one another and kind of being in, this invisible field that's actually supporting us compared to potentially what we could have achieved on our own, just by being a part of that field, because we're coming together, right? This notion of fields is like this zones where we support each other and we come together. There was actually a famous experiment that was done with bees around this, but I'm not going to talk about that. But if you think about what I'm talking about here, if we like tap into the AI thing as well, and using artificial intelligence and the technologies that are being developed, what's happening is they're trying to hook up these human beings in the world to create this kind of hive, this kind of zoning kind of intelligence. And the hive intelligence is actually like even more intelligent than potentially us as humans, which is where the artificial intelligence comes in as well. Like it's pretty crazy. I'm not going to go into it. But the thing is, if all of us humans actually get to the level of consciousness that is possible and we can create our own reality, then what is possible? And who does that impact? And if we choose to live in a way that suits us and is good for us, good for me, good for others, supportive for others, and that the choices that I make is actually supportive of others, not going to impact others, can you contemplate what kind of a world and environment we could live in? Which is why it's so important for all of us to raise our consciousness, to raise our awareness. But some people don't want that, because then there's a loss of control, a loss of manipulation, and a loss of many things. So so this is how the multidimensional realities are kind of working. And then we use language to obviously communicate what's going on in our reality, right? And so imagine if you could actually start to accept that we create what we observe, and that we are observing things with our mind, and our observations become measurements, and our measurements can transform nothing into something, and actually make measurements through our language. Because the relationship between, this is the relationship between our language and reality. Like this, yeah, like this is how our language actually influences our reality, by knowing that we have the power to create through our language, through our internal language, through everything that we can conceive, our imagination, like Joel was talking about. So what is reality? Well, reality is a construction, right? Hey, Karina. I'd love to know about the bees. You'll get to hear about that at Master Prac Training, Kimmy. So language in itself is really, really important. And whenever you don't understand an expression, like, you know, in my Nlp training, we go deeper into understanding language patterns. And within language, there's what we call presuppositions. And presuppositions are assumptions that we assume within the language. We accept certain things within a certain sentence. So let's say I was going to say to you, at our home, where we live, there is a mountain behind us. And so in that sentence, there are certain things that you will accept, and there's an internal representation that you will make. So you may have thought about the mountain. I don't know. What did you think about from that sentence? Did you question, or did you just accept that we have a house? And did you consider who our is? Who am I talking about with our house? Is our my mum and dad's house ours? Is it my family's house? Or is it mine, Curtis's house? So there's certain things that you accept within the sentence to be able to make sense of the sentence. So if you were going to question every single thing in that sentence, it might drive you a little bit mad. But however, this is why it's important to have a consciousness and awareness of language and how we use language, so that whenever there is a certain expression, that you just don't let it pass by. That you can actually observe that and go, hey, like, that doesn't make sense. Let me question that. 100% Joel. I hear you, brother. Love it. Go you. Woohoo! Cheering for you. Amazing. I love how we use our minds and our imagination. And my daughter, Brooklyn, she's 5, she tells stories all the time, and we just support it and we encourage it. And whereas a lot of times we're made wrong for that, like, you're not telling the truth, or is that really a true story? And you know, we've heard that a lot, and we're like, we just support it. Whatever she's talking about is cool. She dreamed it, whatever, she's making it up. Who cares? Is it real, not real? Who gives a fuck? Let's use our imaginations a little bit more, like we used to when we were that age. So yeah. So it's very, very easy to use language to manipulate, and I really want you to encourage you to come and understand language on a whole nother level. Linguistics is so, so powerful and very deep, and I've only kind of touched on it a little bit tonight in terms of quantum linguistics, but you know, there's been like a passive revolution of language in our lives, and there's been a way of interfering with this holographic projection that we use to create our day-to-day reality, and that we use to create our health and our money and our businesses and our relationships and safety and every single thing that it is that we want in our lives. And so we've got to be careful. We've got to be careful about what language we use and what we say. We've got to stay conscious. Yeah, if you allow yourself to drop into an unguarded, unfiltered place, then you get what you get. Yeah, and then you're not coming from a place of power. So, amazing. I don't know how long it's been going, but I feel like we're probably at about an hour, and I'm going to wrap it up. But I really want to, this is day 7 of my NLP trainings. It's been so phenomenal and so much fun to be able to share all of this with you. And, you know, this is great insight, great learning, great understanding for you to apply in your own life. I know myself, when I learned this from a book or from hearing it from someone, I didn't really get the full experience. And this is something that we need to learn at an experiential level, and we need to not only learn it and hear about it, but do it kinesthetically and fully embody it. And so I really would love to invite you all to come and join me in either my NLP virtual training, which is an NLP practitioner training, 3 certifications, all done virtually, live virtually, starting on the 1st of August. And or coming to, if you can, be in Queensland in October from the 10th to the 17th. Come and experience 8 days in person with me, full 8 days, live in retreat style. It's going to absolutely blow your mind, because not only is it 4 certifications at that one, it's also going to be a massively transformational experience. So the invitation is there. I'm calling you forward to come and join me for either one of those trainings, knowing that this information you can take away and you can apply it in your own life, or not, right? Or not, or you can use it as an invitation to say, this is really exciting and I'm really curious about taking this further and taking this one step further. And therefore coming in and joining me and all of the incredible humans that have said yes to joining in on this as well, so that you can ultimately, you know, really own that you are the creator of your world, of your life, of your reality. And by being able to release all the things from the past, by being able to understand how your mind works, and be able to get out of living in this gray zone, the comfort zone, yeah, this bubble that we live in, where, you know, you living in the limitations of the box that you've created with the language that you've used. And maybe your life is like not bad, but it's not phenomenal, it's not exciting, it's not excellent, it's not magnificent, it's not that. And you know, you can either accept being in the not bad and living in the comfort zone of the my life's okay, but I just don't know how to change it, or you can actually choose to say yes to something that's actually going to support you to take ownership and responsibility and learn the concepts that many of us have not learnt in school and growing up, in university even. I'm so grateful for this training for myself, so that I can be a better mum, a better parent, understand how to do sales, understand how to do business, understand how to, you know, train and develop others and give back my skills and my tools to others. So in order to really get something from either of these trainings, you have to be willing to let go of your comfort zone. It will be confronting. Indeed, it will be. But all growth happens when you lean into that. That's the access point for growth, expansion and evolution. So when you come and take a training with me, whether that be in person or live, you're not going to walk out the same. I'm sorry to say, you will not be the same. You're even not the same if you've been able to follow these 7 days with me, because of the new perspective that you have on yourself, on life, on reality. So in order to achieve the things that you want, you're going to have to experience discomfort and maybe a little bit of confusion as well. But yeah, just shoot me a private message or just say hell yes below, and I can let you know about both the NLP virtual training and the retreat coming up real soon. Look forward to hearing from you and seeing you in there, so that we can help support you to take you to the next level and beyond. I love you. Have a great night. See you soon.